The notification sound came from Riley's phone at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. She was in the shower, and her iPhone sat face up on our coffee table, glowing with another message. I wasn't snooping. The damn thing had been buzzing every few minutes for the past hour. Thinking about earlier. Can't wait to see you again. The preview showed enough. I picked up the phone. 3 months. 3 months of working late and girls' nights while she was creating content for her ex. The photo thread stretched back to January, intimate shots I recognized from our bedroom, our couch, even our kitchen counter. Each image time-stamped during my work hours. She called it reconnecting with an old friend. I called it a 3-month audition for her replacement. "Jake, did you grab my phone?" Riley's voice carried from the bathroom. I set the device back down, screen dark. Just moved it off the couch cushion. When she emerged in her silk robe, hair wrapped in a towel, I was already formulating my approach. 20 years of analyzing network vulnerabilities had taught me patience. You don't attack immediately when you discover a breach. First, you map the full extent of the compromise. "Everything okay?" She picked up her phone, thumb hovering over the screen. "Fine. Long day at the office." Riley smiled, the same smile she'd been giving me for 2 years. "I know, baby. The new security protocols are really stressing you out." Stressing me out. Right. Not the fact that she'd been photographing herself in positions that would make a yoga instructor blush, all for Ethan Blake's viewing pleasure. "Riley," I said carefully, "how's the marketing campaign going?" "The one for the wellness app?" "Oh, it's great. Really connecting with our target demographic." She scrolled through her messages, deleting something quickly. "Actually, I might have dinner with some potential influencers tomorrow. Network building, you know?" I nodded. "Influencers. Right. The funny thing about people who think they're clever, they always overestimate their own intelligence while underestimating everyone else's." Riley assumed I was just another tech drone who couldn't see past code and server logs. She had no idea that my job involved thinking exactly like the people trying to break into systems, and right now, someone had definitely broken into my system. After she fell asleep, I opened my laptop. Ethan Blake wasn't hard to find, VP of Strategic Development at Nexus Dynamics, our biggest competitor. LinkedIn showed he was married to Victoria Blake, daughter of tech mogul Harrison Blake. Their wedding photos from 3 years ago displayed enough wealth to fund a small country. Interesting. A deeper dive into public records revealed more. Ethan and Victoria lived in a $4.2 million home in Palo Alto. His BMW was leased through the company. Even his gym membership was corporate sponsored. Everything about his lifestyle depended on maintaining his position and reputation. That gave me something to work with. Riley stirred beside me, and I closed the laptop. Tomorrow, I'd start building my case file. Tonight, I'd lie here next to someone who thought she was playing me, and I'd plan exactly how wrong she was about to be. She called it jealousy. I called it evidence. And I was just getting started. The next morning, Riley kissed me goodbye with the enthusiasm of someone heading to a board meeting, not someone planning to meet her affair partner for what their text history suggested would be an extended lunch break. "Working late again tonight," she said, adjusting her blouse in the hallway mirror. "The campaign is really heating up." Heating up. Christ, she couldn't even lie creatively. "No problem. I'll probably stay late too. New vulnerability assessment came in." After she left, I made my real plans. Nexus Dynamics had been trying to poach cybersecurity talent from our company for months. Their aggressive recruiting meant I had legitimate reasons to research their executive structure. I spent the morning building a profile that would pass any audit. Ethan Blake, 34, divorced once before meeting Victoria. His first marriage ended when his ex-wife discovered he'd been using company credit cards for personal expenses. The settlement was sealed, but the timing suggested infidelity. Pattern recognition, one of my favorite skills. By noon, I'd mapped his routines using publicly available information. Gym check-ins on social media, restaurant reviews, even his Starbucks loyalty program data that he'd stupidly connected to his LinkedIn. The man was a walking digital footprint. At 12:30, I parked outside the Fairmont Hotel downtown. Riley's car arrived at 12:47. She handed her keys to the valet with the confidence of someone who belonged in places that charged $40 for lunch salads. Ethan's BMW pulled up 3 minutes later. They didn't even try to look professional. He put his hand on her lower back while they walked through the lobby, and she laughed at something he said with the kind of breathless giggle she used to save for me. I waited 15 minutes, then walked into the hotel bar. The Fairmont security system was standard commercial grade, motion sensors, digital locks, camera coverage in all public areas. I'd consulted on similar installations. More importantly, I knew the hotel contracted their IT security through Morrison Tech Services. No relation, despite the name, but they used the same vulnerability assessment protocols I'd helped develop, which meant I knew exactly how to access their guest registry without leaving traces. Ethan had reserved a suite under his corporate account. The charge would go directly to Nexus Dynamics, meaning he was using company resources to facilitate his affair. In the corporate world, that wasn't just unethical, it was grounds for immediate termination and potential legal action. Sloppy, Ethan. Very sloppy. I ordered a coffee and positioned myself where I could monitor the elevator bank. They emerged 2 hours later, Riley smoothing her skirt, Ethan checking his phone with the satisfied expression of someone who thought he was untouchable. They said goodbye in the lobby, a lingering hug that lasted long enough for the business crowd to notice. In the tech industry, reputation was everything. One whisper of impropriety could tank years of careful networking. Ethan thought his money made him invincible. Turns out, it just made him a bigger target. That afternoon, I expanded my research. Victoria Blake wasn't just wealthy, she was connected. Her father's venture capital firm had funded half the startups in Silicon Valley. Her mother sat on the boards of 3 major nonprofits. The Blake family name appeared on museum wings and scholarship funds. More importantly, Victoria herself was nobody's trophy wife. Stanford MBA, former Goldman Sachs analyst, currently managing her own investment portfolio. The kind of woman who would not take kindly to discovering her husband was risk managing their marriage while she managed their money. I found her contact information through her investment firm's website. Professional headshot showed intelligent eyes and the kind of composed smile that suggested she could negotiate hostile takeovers before breakfast. By evening, I had enough information to destroy both Riley and Ethan. But destruction without precision was just chaos. I needed surgical strikes, targeted, efficient, and devastating. When Riley came home at 9:30 p.m., she was glowing with the kind of post-encounter satisfaction that made my stomach turn. "Sorry I'm so late," she said, not sounding sorry at all. "The client dinner ran long." "No problem. How did the wellness app pitch go?" "Really well. I think we're going to land the contract." I nodded, studying her face. "That's great news. When do you think you'll hear back?" "Oh, probably by the end of the week. These things take time, you know." These things take time. Yes, they did. But I was a patient man. And patience, combined with the right leverage, could move mountains. Or in this case, it could move 2 cheating narcissists straight into the ground they dug for themselves. Tomorrow, I'd start phase 2. Victoria Blake agreed to meet me at Blue Bottle Coffee in Palo Alto. I'd reached out through her investment firm, introducing myself as someone with information relevant to her interests. Corporate speak for, "Your husband is screwing around, and I have proof." She arrived exactly on time, which I respected. Punctuality suggested discipline, and discipline suggested someone who could handle uncomfortable truths without falling apart. "Mr. Morrison?" She extended a manicured hand. "Victoria Blake." Up close, she was more formidable than her website photos suggested, the kind of presence that made you understand how she'd survived in rooms full of tech bros trying to explain her own industry to her. "Thank you for meeting me. I know this is unusual." "Your message was intriguing. You said you had information about corporate compliance issues. I pulled out a tablet, screen angled so only she could see it. Your husband has been using Nexus Dynamics resources for personal activities. Hotel charges, restaurant expenses, car services, all billed to his corporate account. Victoria's expression didn't change, but her finger stopped tracing the rim of her coffee cup. That's concerning from a fiduciary standpoint. There's more. I swiped to the next screen. He's been meeting with marketing personnel from competing firms, Riley Parker from Quantum Solutions. Their interactions suggest information sharing that could constitute corporate espionage. Now her eyes sharpened. You have documentation of these meetings? Photos, credit card transactions, communications metadata, everything properly obtained through legitimate channels. Victoria studied the evidence for several minutes. When she looked up, her smile was arctic. Mr. Morrison, may I ask what your interest is in this matter? Professional curiosity. I work in cybersecurity. Pattern recognition is part of my skill set. When I noticed irregular data flows between our companies, I investigated. It wasn't technically a lie. Riley had been feeding Ethan information about our client strategies, thinking she was being flirtatious. In reality, she'd been committing industrial espionage without realizing it. And you came to me because you have the most to lose if this becomes public. Your family's reputation, your husband's career, your own business relationships. I thought you'd want to handle this quietly. Victoria nodded slowly. I appreciate your discretion. What kind of handling did you have in mind? The TechCrunch Innovation Summit is next week. Ethan is scheduled to deliver the keynote on ethical business practices in emerging markets. He is. It seems like the perfect venue for a public discussion about actual ethical business practices. For the first time since we'd sat down, Victoria smiled genuinely. Mr. Morrison, I think we understand each other. Over the next hour, we refined the plan. Victoria had access to the summit's technical systems through her family's sponsorship. She could manipulate the presentation equipment without leaving digital fingerprints. I would provide the evidence files in formats that would display seamlessly during the keynote. There's one thing I need to know, Victoria said as we prepared to leave. This Riley Parker, what's your personal connection to her? I met her eyes. She's been sharing more than just corporate intelligence with your husband. Ah. Victoria's expression softened slightly. Then we both have reasons to want this handled properly. We do. She stood, extending her hand again. Partners. That evening, I watched Riley get ready for another client dinner. She spent 45 minutes on her makeup and chose a dress that cost more than most people's rent. You look beautiful, I said from the bedroom doorway. Thank you, baby. She kissed my cheek, leaving a lipstick mark. Don't wait up. This could run very late. I won't. After she left, I finalized the presentation files. Photos of Ethan and Riley at the Fairmont. Credit card statements showing corporate account misuse. Text message screenshots with timestamps and location data. Email threads discussing client strategies that Riley had forwarded to Ethan's personal account. Everything documented. Everything verifiable. Everything devastating. Riley and Ethan thought they were playing a sophisticated game. In reality, they were amateurs going up against professionals who understood that in Silicon Valley, reputation was the only currency that mattered, and their accounts were about to be permanently closed. The TechCrunch Innovation Summit would draw over 500 industry leaders. Live-stream coverage meant global audience reach. When Ethan Blake took that stage to discuss ethical business practices, he'd become the poster child for everything wrong with Silicon Valley culture. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I preferred mine served publicly, with a side of career destruction. 3 days until the summit. 3 days until Riley and Ethan discovered what happened when you tried to hack someone who actually knew how to defend himself. I was looking forward to their reaction. The TechCrunch Innovation Summit filled the Moscone Center with the kind of tech industry crowd that thrived on disruption, as long as it was happening to someone else's company. I arrived early, dressed in my best suit, press credentials courtesy of Victoria's connections. Nervous? Victoria appeared beside me in the lobby, looking every inch the venture capital royalty she was. Excited, I corrected. How's your access to the presentation systems? Secured. I'll be in the AV booth when Ethan takes the stage. You? Front row, center, I want him to see my face when it happens. Victoria's smile was predatory. Perfect. The morning sessions proceeded normally, panels on AI ethics, sustainable tech development, the future of remote work, standard Silicon Valley intellectual masturbation. But the energy shifted when they announced the keynote speaker. Please welcome Ethan Blake, Vice President of Strategic Development at Nexus Dynamics, speaking on ethical leadership in the digital age. Ethan walked onto the stage with the confidence of someone who'd never experienced consequences. His smile was practiced, his posture commanding. Behind him, the massive screen displayed the Nexus Dynamics logo and his presentation title. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to talk about integrity in business. That's when Victoria initiated the upload. The first slide should have been Ethan's biography. Instead, it showed a photo of him entering the Fairmont Hotel with Riley, timestamp clearly visible. The audience murmur started immediately. Ethan turned to look at the screen, and I watched his face cycle through confusion, recognition, and panic in real time. There seems to be a technical difficulty. The next slide appeared. Riley's intimate photos, metadata intact, showing they were taken during business hours in what was clearly a hotel room. The audience gasps were audible now. Can someone fix this? Ethan's voice cracked slightly. Slide 3. Credit card statements showing corporate account charges for hotel rooms, expensive dinners, and car services, all correlated with Riley's social media check-ins at the same locations. I stood up from my front row seat. The slides seem accurate, Ethan. Shall we discuss ethical leadership in the context of using company resources for personal affairs? The crowd turned to look at me, then back at the stage where Ethan stood frozen. Camera phones appeared throughout the audience. The live stream was broadcasting to thousands of viewers worldwide. This is clearly some kind of attack. Is it an attack when someone presents documented evidence of corporate resource misuse? Victoria's voice carried from the AV booth, her microphone suddenly active. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Victoria Blake, Ethan's wife. I think this presentation is exactly what we need to discuss ethical leadership. The conference center erupted. Half the audience started filming. The other half reached for their phones to text colleagues. Ethan looked around desperately, as if seeking an escape route that didn't exist. The woman in these photos, I continued, my voice carrying clearly in the shocked silence, is Riley Parker, marketing director at Quantum Solutions. She's been sharing confidential client information with Mr. Blake in exchange for... Well, the evidence speaks for itself. More slides appeared. Email forwards, strategic documents, client lists that Riley had photographed and sent to Ethan's personal account. Corporate espionage laid out in excruciating detail. Ethan finally found his voice. This is harassment. Security. But the security guard seemed as transfixed as everyone else. This wasn't violence or disruption. This was documentation. Public evidence of private betrayals presented in the most visible forum possible. Mr. Blake, a voice called from the audience, is Nexus Dynamics aware that you've been using corporate accounts for personal entertainment? Another voice. Ms. Blake, are you filing for divorce? Victoria's response carried through the sound system. I'm filing for a lot more than divorce. Ethan tried to leave the stage, but reporters blocked his path. The crowd pressed closer, phones recording every angle. His carefully crafted reputation was disintegrating in real time, broadcast live to the entire tech community. I made my way through the crowd toward the stage. When Ethan saw me approaching, His face went white. "You," he said. "You did this." "I documented it," I replied calmly. "You did it. Who the hell are you?" "Someone who believes in accountability." The crowd pushed closer, and Ethan panicked. He shoved past a reporter and ran for the side exit, but the hallway was already packed with conference attendees drawn by the commotion. Cameras followed him as he fled toward the stairwell. I didn't chase him. I didn't need to. Victoria had arranged for copies of all evidence to be delivered to Nexus Dynamics Board of Directors, the SEC, and 3 major tech publications. Ethan's career was already over. He just hadn't processed it yet. My phone buzzed with a text from Riley. "What the fuck is happening?" "Twitter is blowing up with your name." I typed back, "Justice. See you at home." But first, I had one more stop to make. Victoria met me outside the conference center, both of us watching as news vans began arriving. "Well," she said, "that was therapeutic. For both of us." "Dinner tonight? I think we've earned a celebration." I smiled. "I'd like that." Behind us, the tech industry's rumor mill was already spinning into overdrive. Within hours, the story would be everywhere. Ethan Blake and Riley Parker would become cautionary tales about mixing personal betrayal with professional stupidity. They'd played a game against people who actually understood the rules, and they'd lost everything. The media feeding frenzy began before I even left the Moscone Center. Tech blogs, business journals, and gossip sites all picked up the story within hours. Nexus VP's public meltdown and the keynote that broke the internet, trending across social platforms. Riley called me 17 times during my drive home. I let them all go to voicemail. She was waiting in our apartment when I arrived, laptop open, surrounded by printed articles and screenshots. Her face was streaked with mascara, eyes wild with the kind of panic that comes from watching your life implode in real time. "Jake, we need to talk." "I imagine we do." "This is insane. How could you do this to me?" I sat down across from her, maintaining the same calm I'd felt all day. "I didn't do anything to you, Riley. I simply made your relationship with Ethan public. You humiliated me in front of everyone. You humiliated yourself. I just provided the venue." She stood up, pacing frantically. "Those photos were private. You had no right. Actually, I had every right. You took them in our apartment, with our camera, while I was at work earning money to pay for the bed you were performing in." Riley stopped pacing. "You're sick. This is sick. What's sick is screwing your ex while your boyfriend pays the rent. What's sick is stealing client information to impress your affair partner. What's sick is thinking you could play me because I work in tech. I never stole anything." I opened my laptop and turned it toward her. The screen showed email forwards, document photos, and client strategy summaries she'd sent to Ethan's personal account. "Corporate espionage is a federal crime, Riley. The FBI takes this shit seriously." Her face went completely white. Those were just... I was trying to help with his presentation. His presentation on ethical business practices. The irony would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic. My phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. "Nexus board called emergency meeting. Ethan's been terminated effective immediately. SEC investigation launched." I showed Riley the message. "Ethan's career just officially ended. Yours will be next. Jake, please, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. You made dozens of mistakes. For 3 months, in our home." She dropped to her knees beside my chair, grabbing my hands. "We can fix this. I'll do anything. I love you. You love convenience. You love having someone pay your bills while you play with shinier toys." "That's not true." "Riley, you've been photographing yourself in pornographic positions for another man's pleasure, using company resources to commit corporate espionage, and lying to my face every single day. What part of that suggests love?" She let go of my hands, her expression shifting from desperation to anger. "You think you're so smart, but you just destroyed your own reputation too. Everyone knows you're the psycho who couldn't handle being cheated on. Everyone knows I'm the cybersecurity analyst who exposed corporate espionage and held people accountable for their actions. My reputation is fine. We'll see about that." Riley stood up, grabbing her purse. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is." After she left, I poured myself a drink and opened my laptop. The story had evolved throughout the day. Business publications focused on the corporate espionage angle. Tech blogs dissected the social media implications. Entertainment sites ran with the sex scandal narrative. But every article reached the same conclusion. Ethan Blake and Riley Parker had destroyed their own careers through spectacular professional and personal misconduct. Victoria called at 10 p.m. "How are you holding up?" "Better than expected." "You?" "Divorce papers are being filed tomorrow. My lawyer says the evidence package you provided makes everything remarkably straightforward." "Good. Any word on the SEC investigation?" "They're very interested in the corporate account misuse. Ethan could face criminal charges." I smiled. "Play with fire, get burned." "There's something else," Victoria said. "Riley Parker just filed a police report claiming you hacked her phone and distributed private images without consent." "Did she now?" "My attorney says it won't stick. Everything was obtained legally, and the images were evidence of corporate crime. But she's trying to flip the narrative. Let her try. I documented everything: chain of custody, legal access methods, legitimate business interest in the investigation. Her criminal attorney will explain why revenge porn charges don't apply to corporate espionage evidence." "You really thought this through." 20 years of cybersecurity work teaches you to cover your bases. We talked for another hour, planning next steps and comparing notes on media requests. Victoria was handling the divorce and SEC cooperation with professional efficiency. I was fielding job offers from companies impressed by my investigative work. Riley and Ethan thought they were playing a sophisticated game. In reality, they were amateurs going up against professionals who understood that in Silicon Valley, reputation was the only currency that mattered, and their accounts were now permanently overdrawn. The next morning brought news that Quantum Solutions had terminated Riley for violation of confidentiality agreements and corporate ethics policies. Her social media accounts were deactivated. Her professional network had evaporated overnight. Ethan's situation was worse. Criminal investigation, civil lawsuits, and complete industry blacklisting. His wife had the resources to bury him in legal fees while protecting her own assets. They'd wanted to play games with people's lives and careers. Now they were learning what happened when you played those games with people who actually knew the rules. Justice served. Game over. I poured my coffee and checked my email. Victoria had sent a message. "Drinks tonight to celebrate?" I typed back, "Justice?" This was just Tuesday. But I was definitely looking forward to those drinks.